Hi everyone, happy Yule, and welcome to my Yule video. So, I thought it would be fun this time around, instead of just doing reading or just doing cozy hobby activities, to do a little mix of both. So, I would like to invite you along to my month of Yule. So, a few of the books that I decided to read for Yule, and then some of the activities I like to do around Yule, um, whether it be gifts for people or etc. You'll have to watch and see. I didn't get to do everything I wanted to do in this video, if I'm being honest. As I'm sure most of you have experienced, Yule goes by really fast, and it always is like it's the second busiest time of year for me besides October. So there was a lot more I would have loved to do, and I will hopefully get it done for y'all next year. Maybe it'll be a little bit less stressful next year, but I feel like I say that every year. Who knows? Anyways, thanks for joining. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video and leave a comment down below. Is there anything that you do around Yule that you didn't get to do this year, or things that I did that you'd like to join and do next time? Let me know. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you later. Bye. Hello. Okay, so I am about 36% of the way through Jingle Spells. Like I had said, I think when I first talked about this book, it is the second one in a series. I didn't read the first one, but I'm not having any trouble keeping up. Like, I'm sure that they're bringing up characters that were previously talked about in the first book, but I mean, it's fine. It's reading so far. Couple things I wanted to call out about the book itself. So, it is about a like village of witches. The people who founded the village are the original witches from Salem, Massachusetts. Basically, they fled Salem for their own safety and founded this village in whatever state they're in. I can't remember. I think it's New England, but and left all those innocent women to die. So I kind of have feelings about that. I don't kind of, I do have feelings about that. They have mentioned it, and it's becoming part of the narrative that there is guilt associated with it, as I think there should be. I'm not sure why, if there were actually witches in Salem, they would leave innocent women to suffer the way they did. I don't, that doesn't feel like a cozy storyline to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me that's being hypercritical of it. Their mother is also super against wand usage and makes it sound like the main character's mother is super against wand usage and makes it feel like they're not as good of a magic user because they're using something external to their own body, which just feels like a sort of elitism that I don't love. So wanted to mention that because I didn't love that. There was a point where the sister said, "Mama, it's not a big deal. You're acting like she came home with a face tattoo or something." Like, and if she did, what is the problem here? I don't know. Maybe I'm being hypercritical. But it's fine. Like, it's like a cozy holiday romance. The guy that I guess like they're gonna get together in the book. We've met him. He seems very dry, which seems to be the type that she likes. So good for her. This is the quote that they had, or this is one of the quotes that I highlighted talking about like the Salem witch trial stuff. Your ancestors' decision to abandon the other women, while painful, is also what makes your town what it is today. How? Is it because they're trying so hard to make up for this awful thing that they did? But it doesn't feel like that because it feels like they're not recognizing what feels like they're not recognizing how horrible that was for them to do. Because pretty much, I'm sure that there's more in the first book, so that may be why I'm coming at it the way I'm coming at it. In the book itself, like the people that they're against are magicians. And currently they've built like this huge like skyscraper right outside of town that is overlooking town. Obviously not cozy vibes, so really throwing that off. But also it the guest of the hotel can see the town, which is a problem because the town itself has like a forgetting spell put on it. So obviously there's a lot of problems with the magicians just throwing up a skyscraper there without permission, and feels like this is kind of something that they like go back and forth on pretty frequently. So I'll keep you in the loop on that. So far I wouldn't say I would recommend this book. It does have cozy Christmas vibes for sure, but it almost is like too over the top to the point where I don't love it. Like I'm just kind of ugh. I don't know. Maybe it's just not my type of Christmas. So I don't know. We'll see. I will check in back with y'all when I am done with it because I'm like 40%, 36%. So I'll just check back in with you unless something really riles me up. I'll tell you how it went. Hello. So I have finished Jingle Spells and was not a huge fan of it. Didn't really turn a corner or anything in terms of what my thoughts were last time, like we checked in. I didn't really like the mother character in the book at all. I wasn't really drawn to any of the characters really. I don't want to like spoil it too much just in case like you did read the first one or you aren't interested in reading it. I would say that it's a fun book. My dog's howling. It's a fun book. I don't know. I don't like fun witch books, I guess, unless like I don't know how to explain it. They have to like take it somewhat seriously, I think, for me to enjoy it. Given that they were like the witches that escaped Salem and then founded this village, not not a big fan of that storyline. And it kind of felt like the magicians may have been there because of that and it may be connected somehow. It didn't cover it in this book. It may cover it in the third book, but I'm not going to read it. I was trying to see if there was anything else. Like there's like the forgetting spell that they mention, and I just didn't love the ending when it came to that, like in terms of like the relationship that was built the entire book like isn't remembered at the end of the book. Um so like what are we doing here? I don't know. I just didn't love it. Didn't love it. So what I'm going to be doing is making some soap. So I typically like to do this for like handmade Yule gifts for friends. I prepped everything ahead of time. I'm going to make two different kinds of soap. So the first I'm going to make for like in bulk. So basically, I'm going to have it be very citrusy. I'm going to use a few different oils. Sorry, it's my dog in the background. So I'm going to use vetiver oil, lemon, and orange oil. I typically would like to use bergamot in this as well, but I'm out of bergamot right now. And then I put together an herb mix that I'm going to chop up. I'm also including some dandelion root into that, as well as some lemon balm into that. So I'm going to chop all of that up. And then I'm going to be using turmeric as a natural dye to give it a kind of yellow color. And what I use, this is like the fourth or fifth time I've done this. Experience. I use like a goat's milk soap base that I buy. Me not basically what I do. Soap in the disaster. I chop up all the herbs that occurred. But basically what I'll do is I will chop up all of these herbs. Then I will chop up the soap base, get it melting on the stove, throw in my chopped herbs and my oils and my turmeric, let it cook down. And then once it's all combined, then I'll pour it out into the molds. So enjoy as I chop up all these herbs. So I wanted to show you this herb chopper. So this is from Troll Cunning Forge. He forges a bunch of different like weapons, but also does like knives and ritual tools. If you don't follow him on Instagram, I highly recommend that you do because he has really been killing it with his stuff lately. He's been doing like gorgeous like ritual bowls, and I don't know. I've been really loving his stuff lately. So highly recommend that you follow him. And then the herbs that I'm including all go along with what I'm trying to accomplish for in bulk. So really trying to welcome the light back in. So I'm using lemon eucalyptus that I've grown, lemon balm that I've grown, um, chamomile, calendula, lemongrass, and then some dandelion root that's roasted to help kind of root you in the season of the light. So I'm going to go chopping. See you later. All into the pot, everything goes. I will melt it down, mix everything together, start working on my oil blend to make sure that it has the right balance. And then I will show you guys what it looks like. Once it gets to this texture is when I start applying the herbs and whatever I'm using to dye it. So I will check in with you once we're a little bit more melted. And this is about the texture that we want. We want it to be fully melted, no chunks. And at this point, once we've got it fully melted and everything is integrated, we're going to go ahead and pour it into the molds, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, this is what they look like in the mold. I'm going to go ahead and clean everything up and get started on the Ostara batch. So I'll have to put together some more herbs and oils. Okay, so for our Ostara soap, I went ahead and pulled a few different essential oils. So I've got lavender oil, jasmine oil, tea tree oil, and then a little bit of frankincense just to kind of ground it all together. And then for herbs, I pulled some balm of Gilead and some bergamot that I grew, as well as some cornflower, yarrow, and lavender. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process all over again, and then I will show y'all what the final product looks like. Here are the Ostara soaps. I ran out of these molds, so I did the extra in these. I don't really know how many I'm going to be giving out, so I think I'm not going to be giving out any of the square ones. I try and use natural dyes as much as I can. I was planning on using beet powder for the Ostara ones, but my beet powder is like dried solid. So what I ended up using instead is some butterfly pea flowers. We'll see if they change the color anymore as they like dry, but pretty pleased with how everything turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and put it off to the side so that they can solidify, and then we'll start on the next project shortly. Hello. It's warm. I mean, it's not warm. It's cold, which is why I've got on my fluffy, cozy jacket. I'm about halfway through House of Frost and Feathers. So far, it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be, but I am still really enjoying it. It kind of sells itself as like a folkloric fantasy. So I kind of expected it to be a little bit more rooted in reality of folklore, and it's a little bit more whimsical than I thought it was going to be. Not a bad thing at this point, just kind of different vibes than what I originally like expected going into it. Couple things I highlighted. So like our main character is like a young woman who at this time in this place, she doesn't have a lot of options. Her parents are not there. There's like a sleeping plague that comes around every 10 years. And her parents have both been affected by the sleeping plague. So they're called deep sleepers. So they're asleep and they have not woken up. Her mother's been asleep for like 20 years and her father's been asleep for 10 years. And this is the year that the sickness comes again. So she doesn't have a lot of options. She doesn't have like a job, so she's trying to find a job, and she ends up getting a job for as like a Kundalini assistant, which is, I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's basically like a Baba Yaga type of figure, which is pretty prevalent. It feels like in this world, she's very skeptical of like the magic that they do. So halfway through, like the whole first half has been her like being a skeptic and kind of being like proven wrong in terms of what's possible out there. Oh, they talk about like in this time, like everyone is super superstitious. And like if your child is born with like deformities, they think that that's like the evil eye been cast or a curse upon you. So a lot of times they will like kill those children. It's just, I mean, obviously very horrific, but it's like a very common thing in this time and place. Koldanya is what they're called. And basically, right now, halfway through, she's at this big event where the Koldanya all gather once a year and they do like exhibitions and that sort of thing. Um, she's like not in a good place right now. She's an assistant to basically the Baba Yaga figure, Baba Zima, her assistant. So she's assisting her assistant. Um, and she's like not a super nice lady. So there's been a lot of like friction there. She doesn't feel like she can communicate with her. So I'm interested to see. I feel like there is like potential for their relationship to grow, but some stuff needs to happen in order for that to happen. Yeah. So I'll check in with y'all when I finish the book and give you my final thoughts. Good morning. So I finished House of Frost and Feathers last night, and I ended up liking it more than I thought that I would yesterday when I checked in with y'all. I had gotten all the way up to 4 stars. Unfortunately, it had the ending where it like didn't explain everything, like explain all the connections that there were. So I'm taking half a star away because of that. Only because I feel like whenever an author has really like set out this kind of complicated plot with multiple connections that you're like waiting to get connected throughout the book, I feel like it's a missed opportunity when they don't fully make those connections by the end. Because I see it as a challenge for them to put everything together. And I know some people like when things aren't put all the way together, but I really like it. So I'm taking half a point away. But the book itself was really, really good. Like I said earlier, I was expecting it to be more folkloric. And when I say that, I mean like Slewfoot folkloric, like actually feeling grounded more in reality. Whereas this did not feel as grounded in reality. And that was why I like first went into it and it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. It was more whimsical, but I did enjoy it a lot. Also, one thing I noticed on the book after I had picked it up from the library, it says it shimmers with romance and folklore. And I was kind of disappointed because I didn't really want a romance plot thrown in, but I really enjoyed the way that it did it. So it wasn't the main story point. It was like a side story that kind of just happened naturally and wasn't like the main plot line. It kind of was just something going on the side. And so I really enjoyed the way that she kind of integrated that because like I said, I didn't really want a romance. I wanted like a folklore fantasy kind of vibe. And I got that with a little bit of romance thrown in. And it wasn't, like the romance books, like it's just like that's just the story. And it was not the case at all with this book. Like it was very much like a side thing that happened. I also really enjoyed the ending. I'm gonna recommend this book to people for sure. Like I said, if there was a more resolute ending in terms of like, I mean, it has an ending. If everything was answered at the end, I would give it a 4, 100%. Given that it wasn't, that's why I'm taking that half. But if you're someone who likes books that don't necessarily give you everything, then you probably would rate this a 4 or higher. And I really liked, like, it was almost there in terms of the connections. Like, she connected a lot of stuff together at the end that you're like, oh, fuck. But then there's just that one outlying thing that I wish that she could have answered for us. But that's just the type of reader that I am. So, anyways, I really enjoyed it. Really recommend it, like I said. And I'm going to go to the library today, check it in. Well, I'm going to have to remove all of my little page markers. Check it back in. And then I have another book to check out, which I think is going to be in the next video. So, nice to see you guys. And I will see you later. Bye. Hello. So I got on like Black Friday, I went out to a few local businesses and I went to the art supply store that is local to me. I've never been there before and I've always wanted to go. So I went on Black Friday and they had like a good sale. I can't remember what was going on. But I'm not like an artistic person, but I'm a creative person. I don't know if that makes sense. So I love going in art supply stores, and it was just so cute in there. They had so many cool things to look at. And one of the things they had was they had like calligraphy stuff. So I've been wanting to try calligraphy again for a while. So I went ahead and picked up some like nibs and a couple of like quill, like pen holders from, is it Speedwell, I think? And then got some ink. And then I had also bought this off of like Amazon years ago. Like, I don't even know how long ago it's been. Probably 5 years. I have like tried to do calligraphy before, and I'm not naturally talented at it. From what I've done before, like I haven't done a lot of practice with it, but I did get this as well. So this is like, oh, Speedball elementary alphabets. So it shows you like how to like write certain like letters, and it has a few different like fonts. So it's got like Draftsman's Gothic, it's got Roman manuscript. Let's see, the one that I am the most drawn to and that I've been trying to work on is the like Engrosser's Old English. So these are the ones that I would really like to do. So I'm just going to mess around with it some, see what I can do. I have a couple cards that I want to write and a letter I'd like to write. So let's see how I do. And if I do horribly, I have other pens that I can use, and my handwriting isn't god awful. So let's see how it goes. Okay, I've got ink all over my hands. That was inevitable. So I didn't do too bad, I don't think. I mean, obviously not great for my first time. I did buy two different like sets of nibs. So the ones that I got at the art store were these like bigger ones, and they're like A, B, and C. And so I was trying to see like which one I liked better. I think out of those three, I liked the C better. But then these smaller ones that I had were for the crow quill. And I guess I need to try these too. But the one that I tried, I didn't like as much. So I'm going to do some more experimenting around. Um, yeah. And then I will show y'all what I end up with. It didn't bleed too bad. It bled a little bit through to the next page, but not awful. So I will check back in with y'all once I am done with what I wanted to work on today. So I'm going to have to get a D tip and see if it's any easier for me. But I'm pleased with first time around. What I'll say is I really love the tips that I got at the art supply store. I do not like the other tips I got. The other tips I got, it does not seem like they hold ink for anything. So like these first three are the tips that I got. So that's the B tip, the A tip, and the C tip. A and the C are my favorite. The B, I was struggling. And then these are the other tips I got. It's like the ink immediately ran out. And that's the issue I've had previously with these like kind of tools. So I'm going to get the D tip and then I'm going to only use these kinds of tips moving forward. I'm not going to try and use these other ones. So they look like So I think something about this gold piece is what allows it to get more ink in it. The other ones just look like this. And these are the nibs I've worked with before. Um, so that's probably the issue I had before. So I'm going to get the gold tip ones. I'm going to finish writing my letters and then I will check in with you all shortly. Okay. This book, Christmas Curiosities. Um, so it is says on the front like odd, dark, and forgotten Christmas. So it looks like it's an older book, but it actually came out in like 2008. My mom gave this to me a couple of years ago for my Christmas book for the year. And pretty much it kind of tells like the history of Christmas, starting at the very beginning with St. Nicholas, who was believed to be, well, actually, it starts before St. Nicholas. So originally, when we talk about the 12 days of Christmas, we're talking, it was believed to be very like supernatural, ghosts, spirits, um, witches. Let me find, because it has, and so like this is how it like started. So this is like 1700s, I want to say. And they were said to concern of respectable people in the early 19th century was the idleness and dissipation of young boys, generally working class during the holidays. Snowballing was especially popular, playing tricks on people, and it was especially threatening to upright citizens who could and did get hurt by snowballs. Okay, they probably deserved it. But I just love like the imagery that was used because like before St. Nicholas, it was very, pagan. And they had a lot of like goblins and witches and those kinds of like stories that were told. I wanted to show you this. Like, oh, how beautiful is that? Like a lot of this book is telling the history and then it's using like advertising and postcards to illustrate, kind of what went on during that time and what was popular. And then we kind of start talking about St. Nicholas, and it has a legend in here, which I thought was really interesting. I wanted to share. So, one legend, repeatedly retold about one of his acts of charity, is claimed to be the source for the custom of hanging up stockings and giving gifts at Christmas time. A desperate father had lost his wealth and could no longer provide dowries for his three daughters, which at the time meant that they were unmarriageable and likely to be forced into the streets and prostitution. Nicholas heard of the dilemma, and on each of 3 nights in a row, he secretly tossed a bag of gold through the window of the man's house to ensure that his daughters would have their dowries. Instead of landing on the hearth, the bags fell into stockings hung up to dry, which I thought was really interesting. And then this is the earliest printed image known of St. Nicholas, which I thought was really cool. And you can see the little girl and boy. So the little girl is good. So she gets presents, and the little boy is bad. So he gets a switch. But I just want to talk about how these kids are illustrated because they do not look like children. They look like miniature grandparents, like the way that they were illustrated. Those are not children. So then after St. Nicholas, we move into talking about Krampus, who was very prevalent in Europe, not super popular in America, but basically Krampus was kind of to offset Santa Claus or St. Nicholas. So someone to punish bad children is why he was around at the time. So they have a lot of like beautiful like postcards and stuff featuring Krampus. So basically it was like a duology of, both of them. So St. Nicholas, who was the good, and Krampus, like who was the bad. And then eventually they put the two of them together so that Santa would be bringing switches to kids who were bad, which obviously later changed to coal, which is preferable. And then, so a lot of this is during the 1800s and early 1900s is like the history and stuff that it's talking about. We also have like this fantasy and fairy kind of like no cheeses for us Mises. And like, oh, I just love it. I love all of the artwork in here, the very vintage stuff. And then one really interesting thing at the end, because those Victorians, they're crazy weird. So these are postcards of just like dead birds that they would send. And it says, "May yours be a joyful Christmas." The other one says, "A loving Christmas greeting," with a dead bird. Okay. A dead European robin frozen from the cold was bound to elicit Victorian sympathy and pity, and may reference common stories of poor children freezing to death at Christmas. Like, what a lovely thought. And then a loving Christmas greeting, another dead bird, likely a wren. And then it says, "The robin and the wren were considered in British and Irish folklore as sacred birds, much beloved, and not to be harmed under pain of bad luck. Their natural deaths, pictured on popular greeting cards in the 1880s, continue to puzzle." AKA, what were the Victorians doing and why? Anyways, I love this little book. If you see it when you're out and about, I recommend picking it up. I think all of the imagery in it is beautiful. I love the style of this, and it's just a fun little Christmas book. Yeah, so loved it. Recommend. I am going to be moving on to my next Yule activity, so I will see you guys shortly. Bye. Okay, so I've made my dough. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and half it and then craft some mushroom caps and stems because we're making mushroom cookies. Okay, so now I am going to melt the chocolate while the cookies are in the oven, and then I'll show y'all how I make the mushrooms once everything is done cooking. right, y'all. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for sticking around the whole time. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it and hit subscribe if you haven't already. I hope everyone has a beautiful Yule season, a wonderful time with their families, their friends, and loved ones. And I hope the new year turns into everything you wanted it to be. Thanks for watching. Bye.